First time I held a microphone in Shorewood, I was way too loud, so they said make sure to hold it down here, because I'm a little loud. So if I ever get too loud, yell at me. I'm not loud? Never. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it. So, man, I was praying about, when Jackie asked me what to speak about, I go, oh my gosh, I'm not qualified to speak about anything, right? I mean, senior in high school, I am pretty much at the same place as you guys are in your spiritual and normal personal lives and journeys and everything. But I was praying about it, and kind of thinking about everything that has happened to me over the course of the last year and what the big messages that I took away from my life. And he said, I want you to talk about dating and relationships. And I said, oh boy, okay. So that's kind of what I'm going to try to do. So how many of y'all have ever dated? Have ever dated? Have ever been in a relationship? Oh man, not as many as I thought. So we're still in that cootie phase, right? Everybody else? So everybody else is still, okay, awesome. So not too much heartbreak yet. Okay, so for those of you who have, what is dating? What defines dating?
A relationship other than friends.
Okay. What does that look like?
Holding hands. What do you mean what does it look like?
So there's just a physical aspect of it?
Yeah.
So if I held hands with Jackie right now, we'd be dating?
No. This is the aspect farther than friends. Like, obviously when you're dating, you kiss them. I mean, that's a part of dating.
Okay.
Not saying that if I kiss someone, I'm not dating. Like, if I just walked up to like Parker and kissed him, I'm not dating Parker. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what about? Are there any emotional levels that are different?
You care about them. You care about their well-being, what they're doing on a daily basis. You think about them.
So they're like the closest person to you.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yes. Okay. And we agree, most of us? Yes? Okay. All right. So why do you date somebody? Yeah. Anybody? Ryan, you got your hand raised. Why did you date the people you dated? Oh, okay. What was your intent behind dating? What did you want to get out of that relationship? Okay, all right. So, okay, all right, Miss Reed.
Are you going to be marrying them?
Okay, so everything needs a vision, right?
Yeah.
Everything needs to have a destination. If we don't know where we're going with someone, if I want to go hiking with Julia and we say, okay, we're going to go hike Mount Rainier, that's going to work out real well if we don't have a map, right? We're going to get up to the top of Mount Rainier and go, oh my gosh, we're going to starve and die, right? If you don't have a destination, if you don't have a vision, you don't have a purpose in what you're doing, you're going to get lost and you're going to get hurt. So, a vision is always important. And so that's kind of what Miss Reed said, finding the person you're going to marry. That's the point, that's the final destination, that's your purpose of dating, right? And that is not to say that the first person you date is going to be the very person that you marry. That is far from the truth. And that is not to say that, oh, somebody asked you out and you go, will you marry me? That's not the proper response either. It's just to say that when you are dating, it's not for recreational purposes. It's not for selfish desires. You're not just gonna jump around from person to person. You're looking for somebody to spend the rest of your life with. So you're not playing a game. And the example that I came up with was that we don't treat people like toys. Right? Everybody's heard that expression. And you don't just you have one toy and you break it and oh it's broken. You go grab a new one. But if you're everybody has that one toy that was their favorite, right? That no matter how beat out or worn out it got, that was your favorite toy. And I know when I was younger, I saved up for a toy. There was one that I absolutely had to have, that I waited, I saved all my money for it, and once I got it, that was mine. And I savored and treasured that one. And you're gonna use that one for a long time, if not forever, right? So, because you've invested in it. You've waited for it, you've saved up for it, you've taken that time set apart for it. So, so you have to commit to a relationship, and you have to try to make it work. And if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world, but you know that you tried, and that you learned a lot from it. And that's one of the great things about relationships, is how much we can learn from them, whether they last or whether they don't. And I can tell you that firsthand. I don't know about the other people in there. But so everybody who's been in relationships is going to kind of be my guinea pig, since nobody else can answer a lot of these questions. But so y'all learned a lot, right? In relationships? Learned a lot, yeah. What are some of the things that you learned? In general. Jackie, what are some of the things that you learned?
I learned about what kind of person I should not be dating.
Definitely. I mean, and that's a big thing, is that you learn what you like in a person, right? I mean, and there are some huge things that can go on there. Like, you don't like the Mariners? I mean, not that simple, but I mean, there could be things like, I want 800 kids, I want at least 12, like, right? Like, okay, at least 6, that's still an exaggeration. But, so if I were to date somebody that, say, didn't want to have kids ever, that's probably not the best fit, right? Probably. So it's good to figure that out. That's the kind of stuff that you can figure out from dating. I mean, you learn a lot about the opposite gender, right? Since you're not that gender. Actually, so, I mean, we don't know how they work, we don't know how they operate. So that type of relationship can really give you that perspective that the other person has, and what makes them tick, what makes, how does their mind work and everything as well. And yes. Also, you get to learn about yourself. And I know, at least in mine, I learned a lot of things that, like, wow, that makes me angry. That makes me sad, that hurts me, that disappoints me. And some of the things that are important to you, like, I want kids and you don't. So some of the things that are important for you to find out about the people that you are in relationships with. And you get to mature a little bit. I know that. Relationships require a lot of hard work. They're kind of like a car. That's the one that I came up with. So if you take care of it and you treat it nice and you change the oil every 7,500 miles. No, okay, not enough of us on a car to get that joke. Okay, yes. It runs really nice if you take care of it, but every once in a while it's gonna break down, or you're gonna hit a tree, or something. I mean, stuff happens. Every once in a while you're gonna hit a bump in the road, and the car's gonna malfunction. And you could throw that car aside, and you could just say, "Oh, well, car's broken, gotta find a new one," or you can figure out how to fix the car, and because you really like this car. So, and we go through a lot of cars, because some of them just aren't worth fixing. But that's one of the things that you have to figure out how to do. Sometimes it's better to walk around and get your exercise in before you buy another car. Sometimes you just need that space to appreciate what a car can do for you, and what they shouldn't have to do for you. But cars take responsibility to own, right? You can't just go around and drive 600 miles an hour and hope you don't crash it. And you have to have insurance to protect yourself while you're driving. And relationships require a lot of responsibility too. You can't sabotage them, and you have to know what you're going to do when something does happen, when you do crash your car. Whether you're going to work hard to fix it, or whether you're just going to say, "Oh, I give up, it's broken." And especially in relationships too, are you going to reconcile these misunderstandings? And relationships teach you a lot of this stuff as well. They teach you to deal with conflict, and how to have the hard conversations that we have to have with everybody at some point in our lives. And when you're not okay with something, you have to speak up about it. That's a big thing that I learned as well. And those are the hard conversations that need to be had. And one of the really cool things about relationships is you get to learn how to put other people above yourself. I mean, we hear all about, love your neighbor and treat your neighbor as yourself. But what does that really mean? And why do you have the desire to put somebody above yourself until they mean that much to you and they're that close to you? And the other thing that's really cool that hopefully is part of your relationship is that you get to grow in God with them. Ecclesiastes 4, I don't know if we all want to turn there, but I have it so that I can read it. But man, this is hard with one hand. I didn't practice it this way. Okay, Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12 says, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So there are a lot of things in that verse that I really like. Where am I? So accountability. If one falls down, a friend can help them up. But if they have no one to help them up, pity that man. So we all fall at some point in our lives, whether it's because of CrossFit or because we're just too. I mean, both physically and emotionally, right? How many of you have ever broken down or fallen down in this analogy? Yes, I definitely have. I think we all have. And we always have that one friend that we can talk to and we can tell everything to. But if you don't have that, pity that man, because they have nobody to help them up, and help them in general. I mean, you need an accountability partner. You need somebody that you can tell everything to, that you can talk to about things that need to be talked about. Okay. If 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. That doesn't literally, can mean lying together. But so if you're alone, how do you keep warm when you're alone? If you have nothing, if you're completely isolated, you have no blankets, how are you going to keep warm? Clothes. Okay, to a certain extent, yes. But when it gets really, really, really cold, AC's going to make you colder. So you have nothing. So I run around, right? Try to create some friction, try to create some body heat, right? So you're going to run around, and you're going to run around, and you're going to run around, and eventually you're going to get tired. And then you pull a muscle. Or you pull a muscle, yes. So you're eventually going to get tired. And I really like though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. And I was actually just thinking about this last night. I was walking to my grandparents' house in the dark. It was very dark. And as cars are driving by, and they kind of slow down, and I'm like, holy crap, like what, it really scares you. And I was thinking, man, if somebody were with me, I would know, I would feel more safe, I'd feel more protected than if I were just walking by myself in the dark. So there's that safe feeling that you get from being with someone, and that you know somebody's looking out for you. And I also thought a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Have any of you ever looked that closely at yarn? Or maybe I'm just cat-like and yarn fascinates me, but it's got all those little strings that are like wound around and like woven together. It's oh, that's hilarious. Pass that around. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Where am I now? But so they're all woven together. So if it were just one, it wouldn't hold very well, right? It would break apart. How many of you have ever crocheted or knitted before? Yes? Yeah. I mean, you're pulling on that thread. So it's gonna break if you were to only have one string. So being together is really, really important. And actually, God has designed us to be in relationships and to be with people. Genesis 2:8 says, the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." And this is Genesis, so that's when he made Eve to be with Adam. So it's completely normal to desire a relationship and to desire a husband or a wife or to desire love. That's completely normal. It's in our nature. But how do we have that? What are some of the things that would make a relationship work? Anybody? Communication, big one. Same beliefs. Honesty, trust. Those are two of the big ones for me.
Reliability, responsibility.
Commitment, sacrifice, loyalty. What do all these things sound like? All these words that were thrown out there. Do you want to explain that?
They're all big words.
They're all big words?
And they're all fake things. Like, I mean, you don't just give your trust willingly to anyone who just walks around. You trust people who are close to you and are deep in your heart. And that goes for all of us. You feel responsible for if they in trouble, why weren't you there to protect them? Or why weren't you there to make their day better? You don't just willingly give that to someone you just meet.
Yeah, definitely. And so the word that comes to my mind, well, I think to all of us, when we think about relationships, is love, right? But society nowadays they use the word love way too much. I love ice cream, I love running, I love pizza, I love that chair, I love white. I mean, it's no, honestly, we throw it around way too much. I one time, this quarter at college.
You say I love math.
That's because I love math. When we get into the definition of love, we will talk. You'll understand. You'll understand. Math is love, math is life. Okay. Okay. No, I lost my place. Okay. All right, let's go to 1 Peter. Oh my gosh. I can't even see. 1 Peter's in the back. There's too many. Okay. 1 Peter 4:8 says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins." So, how much is a multitude? A lot. A lot. So, every mistake that you make in your life, but in relationships as well, can be reconciled with love. Just love. I mean, stop making it super hard, stop trying so much, and just love people. So where does love come from?
Love comes from God.
Where does every good thing come from, right? From God. So God is love. In 1 John 4:7-9, it says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him." So, God is love. This is a huge thing. This is big. If there's one thing I want you to take away from tonight, it's that God is love. So what does that mean to you? That God is love? Anybody?
You should be a factor in a relationship.
Be a factor in a relationship. Anything else?
Without God, there is no love.
Thank him for love. I didn't think about that one. That's a really, really good point. Yes. So, this was really interesting to me. Whoever does not love God, or whoever does not love, does not know God, because God is love. So if God is love, how can we love if we don't know God? That's deep. I'm good at this. No, I'm just So God needs to be present in our relationships, right? I mean, not every single one, but the ones that are important to you, definitely. So if you're dating somebody, they have to know what love is, right? If they don't know love, or if they don't know God, they don't know love. And if they don't know God, they're not fit to lead you. Or ladies, a man is not fit to lead you, and men, you're not fit to lead, right? So, what does love look like? 1 Corinthians 13, everybody's favorite. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. That was my favorite one when I was little. Do they still do the song? Does Mrs. Storr still do the song Love is Kind? Yes. That was my favorite song, and I wrote it on all of my favorites when I was younger. Because it's so, when somebody is kind, when somebody is patient, you know that they care about you. Because I'm pretty impatient. Joy and Alexis both know that. I mean, I'm really busy. I always, I never have time for anything. So if I'm willing to take the time to sit down and be patient and listen to what you have to say, you're pretty important to me with everything else that I have to do in my life. So all of these things that the Bible says love is, if God is love, God is all of these things, right? And what are we as Christians, or little Christs? These are the type of things that we should be doing, and we should be looking at, right? So wouldn't you want a significant other to look like this as well? Patient, not easily angered. I know I'd want that. I screw up way too much to not need some forgiveness. And it's not enough that you need them to be a Christian. But why would you want to date somebody who's not a Christian? So Jesus is number one to us personally. And then somebody that we'd be in a relationship with would be like a close second. They'd be our first person on earth to be close to us. So we want those to directly coincide. Because if they don't know God, then either God is the center of our life, and they're kind of on the outskirts, or we start to make them the center of our life and keep God on the outskirts. So you kind of have to choose between that person or God. Because God's a jealous God. Really jealous. I went to a church conference the other night, and the preacher said, God doesn't mind you having things, but he minds things having you. So it's perfectly fine to have a significant other and to be with somebody, but you want them to be a person that you can build up that relationship with God, and that you can talk about him with, and that you can both grow together. So let's look at Galatians 2, 19 through 21, if I can find it. Okay. For through the law I died to the law, so that I might live for God. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. So, when you become a Christian, when you love God, he's not just a part of your life, right? If we have a pie, he's not just a slice of that pie. He is the whole pie. He consumes the pie. He's not just the filling, but he is the crust. He is all of our pie. He's all of our life. So he's not just a part of me, but he is who I base my identity in. He is who I'm striving to be like. Right? So if somebody doesn't know God, they don't know you too well either, do they? And we're made in the image of God. So the more we learn about God, the more we learn about ourselves. So So when somebody doesn't know about God, it makes it really hard for them to know us. So, and that's the biggest thing for me. God is love. God is who I am. So if somebody didn't know God, they can't know love. And they're not fit to be in a relationship at all, let alone with me. And that is all I have for you tonight. So I'm going to pray us out, and then we're going to go into small groups. Woo! I made it through without dying or fainting. Okay, all right. God, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for the strength to get through it, God. Thank you for all the wonderful people who are here. And thank you for love, and thank you for sending your Son to die for us, God. Thank you for 1 John 4:18 says that we could love because you first loved us. Thank you for showing us what love looks like and giving us that example. This I pray in your name. Amen.
So next week, can you come back and talk about singleness?
Singleness? Oh, I was going to include that. Why didn't I? It's a good thing.